Hey guys, I'm back with another candle review, and this time around for the 14.5 ounce 3-wick cinnamon sugar coffee cake candle from Bath & Body Works, part of the Fall 2025 collection. The notes on this read freshly baked coffee cake, cinnamon sugar crumble, and gooey caramel swirl. And wow, does this become so incredibly thick, rich, and spicy when you go to burn it. On cold, I was saying it was more similar to like the cinnamon caramel swirl, the pumpkin caramel swirl fragrance with just a little bit of a spice sprinkled on top of it. But this really loses that sort of sweet caramel essence and goes way more on like the spicy, rich, heavy route. Wow. It seems kind of actually seasonally inappropriate to be burning it now. I feel like this would be so much more pleasant and cozy and more fit for the season when the weather becomes cooler and during the fall time and you just want like a really cozy atmosphere. But in this like really hot summer weather, this is just way too strong and oppressive to be burning right now. That I'll probably save it until later into the season if or when it ever gets cold, and save it then because it's so spicy it could almost lean into like a holiday candle. So yes, what does it smell like? You get heaps of a like cinnamon sugar fragrance, and the cinnamon sugar is so incredibly similar to the cinnamon sugar pecans candle, and oftentimes that cinnamon sugar pecans candle, which I really don't enjoy, gets this like oily, like stale nuts, burnt, singed fragrance to it. And this is doing that same exact thing. It's like that same sort of like burnt, oily cinnamon sugar, stale nuts smell with a burnt component is coming through in this more and more as you burn it, and it's reminding me so much of cinnamon sugar pecans but much stronger, and so I don't love that. But if you like that cinnamon sugar sort of burnt fragrance you get from cinnamon sugar pecans, you might really enjoy this candle. Pumpkin pecan waffles also tends to have this like sort of oily burnt base the more you go to burn it, and it's slightly reminiscent of that as well. So you get that cinnamon sugar first. There's heaps of brown sugar. It's actually quite rich and intense. And then I get a lot of nutmeg as well. There's very much like a kitchen spice blend going on here. The caramel kind of goes by the wayside because this doesn't become too sweet in a gooey caramel type of way. But I suppose you do get that sort of burntness that you often get from burnt caramel. So maybe there is still like a caramel undertone under here. But long story short, it's just like a very strong, heavy cinnamon sugar, brown sugar, and nutmeg type of spice blend candle. It actually quite reminds me of the Christmas cider candle that we've had, which is also very similar to spiced chestnut. And Christmas cider obviously is like more of a Christmas holiday fragrance, but it reminds me of those heavy spices you would get more in like a mulled cider or some kind of like toddy fragrance, is how this comes off to me, more so than an actual true baked good where you might expect more cake notes or more butter, or even just more of like a fluffy sort of airy cake fragrance, or even like a dense cake or a muffin. Still tends to have more of this sort of crumbly baked good feel. You're just kind of missing that in this candle. So yeah, I guess I can see why they would bring out a fragrance like this, because cinnamon sugar pecans and Christmas cider keeps returning, that there must be a slot for this type of really heavy spice fragrance. But this is just something that I associate more so with like, you know, late fall and into winter holiday season. And I would have much preferred something a little bit more lighthearted in a like banana walnut muffin fragrance. That was an excellent sort of spice nutmeg banana bakery fragrance that I really enjoy, that I feel like I would have appreciated that more than something this heavy for this time frame right now. But it is what it is. I would say if you're looking for something a little bit more sweet and more bakery leaning, just check out pumpkin cinnamon bun. I feel like that's a little bit more of a slightly palatable version of this type of spiced bakery fragrance, whereas this is much heavier. Moving on to the performance, this is either a third or a fourth burn. It has the thick rope-like wicks on it, super, you know, massive flames. Just make sure you're always trimming them. It gets a very deep, even wax bowl in no time. A hot burn, so just make sure you're on top of trimming and all that kind of stuff. But as for the throw, wow, is it strong? Oh my God, at least that's the one good thing about this being such an intense, strong spice fragrance, and that brown sugar and that sort of burnt undertone really builds up the more you go to burn it, that it gets more and more burnt smelling the more you have it burning. It wasn't quite as present on the first burn, but by the third burn, it's quite present how like sort of burnt in, almost like singed this can start to smell. But at least the throat is incredibly strong. I would say 8 to a 9. And so while I don't love this fragrance right now, at least it's not unscented like so many of the light candles that I've been getting, like Vanilla Ease, Vanilla Cafe, Autumn Evening, Football Season, Vanilla Noir, also incredibly weak. So it's actually nice to have something much stronger with this candle. Overall, this is a total one and done for me. I would probably just save it until later in the fall season if it gets cool out, and I think it would just be so much more seasonally appropriate and more pleasant when you're looking for that sort of cozy fall time moment. But for right now, it's just very strong and very heavy and very spicy, and I'm just not looking for that. And yeah, and I just feel like I'm just a little bit bummed in the sense that I'm not really getting a true like bakery, buttery crumble note, and more so just a total onslaught of spices like coming out your nostrils. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.